Om Namo Narayanaya. We're continuing our read through the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11. Lord Krishna's entrance into Dvaraka. Sutta Goswami said, upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of the Nartas, or Dvaraka, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants. The white and fat-bowled conch shell, being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. The citizens of Dvaraka, having heard that sound which threatens fear personified in the material world, began to run toward him fast, just to have a long-desired audience with the Lord, who is the protector of all devotees. The citizens arrived before the Lord with their respective presentations, offering them to the fully satisfied and self-sufficient one, who, by his own potency, incessantly supplies others. These presentations were like the offering of a lamp to the sun. Yet the citizens began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the Lord, just as wards welcome their guardian and father. The citizens said, "O Lord, you are worshipped by all demigods like Brahma, the four Sanas, and even the King of Heaven. You are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. You are the supreme transcendental Lord, and inevitable time cannot exert its influence upon you. Oh, Creator of the universe, you are our Mother, well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual master, and worshipful deity. By following in your footsteps we have become successful in every respect. We pray, therefore, that you continue to bless us with your mercy. It is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence, for your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now it is possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glances. We can now see your transcendental form full of all auspiciousness. O lotus-eyed Lord, wherever you go away, whenever you go away to Mathurva Vrindavana or Hastinapura to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like 1,000,000 of years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless, as if bereft of the sun. O Master, if you live abroad all the time, then we cannot look at your attractive face, whose smiles vanquish all of our sufferings. How can we exist without your presence? Upon hearing their speeches, the Lord, who is very kind to the citizens and devotees, entered the city of Dvaraka and acknowledged all their greetings by casting his transcendental glance over them. As Bhogavati, the capital of Nagaloka, is protected by the Nagas, so was Dvaraka protected by the descendants of Vrishni, Bhoja, Madhu, Dashara, Ara, Kukura, and Dhaka, etc., who are as strong as Lord Krishna. The city of Dvarakapuri was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water-breeding lotus flowers all over. The city gateway, the household doors, and festooned arches along the roads were all nicely decorated with festive signs like plantain trees and mango leaves, all to welcome the Lord. Flags, garlands, and painted signs and slogans all combined the shade of the sunshine. The highways, subways, lanes, markets, and public meeting places were all thoroughly cleansed and then moistened with scented water. And to welcome the Lord, fruits, flowers, and unbroken seeds were strewn everywhere. In each and every door of the residential houses, auspicious things like curd, unbroken fruits, sugarcane, and full water pots with articles for worship, incense, and candles were all displayed. I'm going to pause here because as I was reading this, something came to mind, and I'm going to share it. Might be a little controversial, but we can argue in the comments below, and I actually welcome that. There is a line here. I shall go back to it if I can find it. It said, blah, blah, blah. You are worshipped by all demigods like Brahman, the four Sanas, and even the King of Heaven. Drop down a little bit. Your protection by your presence, for your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Well, when I read about Hinduism, there really is no heaven. It doesn't really exist. That's a Christian concept, or a Catholic concept. You die, and you go to heaven. In Hinduism, you don't die and go to heaven and live in heaven eternally on a cloud with an angel playing a harp. I jest, but it's not, we don't have that in Hinduism. We have reincarnation, which kind of defeats the point of heaven. And when you cease reincarnation, you still don't go to heaven. Even in Buddhism, which is really a branch of Hinduism, Buddha considered himself a Hindu, they don't go to heaven. This is a Christian concept. So when it's being written here that there is a king of heaven, okay, there is probably a god overseeing some place, but heaven? Does that mean there's Christians in this belief system? And then it goes, the lordship really visits even the denizens of heaven. Is there a hell? I believe, and you can argue with me, that there is no heaven in Hinduism. It is a foreign concept that means something to a lot of people. As soon as I say the word heaven, you instantly know what I mean. Or I say hell, you instantly have a picture. Or if I say Satan, you instantly know what I'm talking about. I don't have to describe, well, Satan's this guy who does this or that. We know. There is no Satan in Hinduism. Doesn't exist. It's a Christian concept. There is no heaven or hell. Doesn't exist. If you disagree, put it down below. But I'm going to say that it's likely a misinterpretation. I believe this is a misinterpretation. Actually, I believe it's a mistranslation. So, people say that Swami Prabhupada, his translations are the best. And honestly, I think they're really good. Sometimes readability is a little tough. They're trying to put a lot of stuff together, and while I like a long, fluid sentence, because I love me some Jack Kerouac, kind of wish they wrote more like Hemingway, with things that were more concise. It's a lot of stuff, it's hard to digest. But even so, I think generally his translations are correct. But I think there are issues with them. I don't think they're perfect. I'm not going to say that he was perfect, and I'm not going to say he was a saint. I think that's overlooking things, and I don't believe any teacher out there is a saint. I think even Lord Krishna showed that he wasn't a saint on earth. He played games. Yes, they were for teaching, but he did things on a material level that looked odd to people. So maybe Prabhupada was playing games, but I'm not a Hare Krishna. I'm not going to worship him as a saint. I just can't. No man is a saint. No man is God. But I think he has some issues. I think one of them is the translation of the word loka into planet. I don't think it means actual planets. I think it means a place, like a heaven or a hell or an alternative level, not a planet. But they teach in ISKCON that there's actually planets out there. I think that's a mistranslation. And I think this is another mistranslation. I think he has taken a Sanskrit word and translated it into heaven, because the Sanskrit kind of describes a place like a heaven. And thus, instead of going into this long description of what this place is, he just says heaven, and we kind of get it. But I don't think it's accurate. I think it's wrong. I think he's taking something and trying to make it more understandable by Western audiences. I don't blame him. Yogananda did the same thing. Osho's done the same. Many teachers have done the same thing. Adida, whoever. It makes sense, but at the same time, I think it does an injustice, because now people will talk about, oh, well, in Hinduism there's a heaven. It says right here. Is there really? I don't have the Sanskrit. I can't validate it. I can't read Sanskrit. I don't know. But I think this is a mistranslation, and it bugs me a little bit. So I'm going to recommend the book Sanskrit Non-Translatables, right, by Rajiv, is it Maltova? I'm mispronouncing his name, but I'll put a link down below. You've probably seen his talks on YouTube. He does a lot of them, and he really pounds, and he's really into decolonization. He's really into accuracy, and he's been an influence on me. You may disagree with some of his things, but he has this one book where he translates all these Sanskrit words into how they're meant according to the context of the original thing, and then he shows how they've been translated into English. And it's like, no. Like, one is Jiva, the soul, and he goes, we translate that as aura. The aura around the body, because that there is no aura in Hinduism. We don't have that. The Shiva is a completely different thing that's inside your body that can't be seen by light, but yet it's this translation. Ahimsa doesn't mean non-violence, it means less violence. He goes through all these words and he just says this is what they mean. And Loka's one of them. I don't know about heaven. I think it's in there too. But he points out that we might have mistranslations. Even by these great teachers, they might have mistranslated something to make it digestible. You can call me out. You can say that I'm condemning a saint. I've had that happen. I've mentioned something to a Hare Krishna, and he's like, oh, Swami Prabhupada was perfect at everything he said and everything he did, so there is no mistranslations. This is the divine word of God. I can't do that. I have issues with that. So, because if that's the divine word, what about other teachers? Are there no other teachers who have the divine word? And that means it just is to me a logical step that I have issues with. Let's say he's fallible. A man who wrote these books, who's fallible, is almost to me more inspiring than a man who wrote something perfect. Because the task he underwent with all his books is phenomenally amazing. Unbelievable what he did. And the translating. And even if he had help, it's still overwhelmingly amazing. So even if it's not perfect, it's still awesome. Actually, it might be even more awesome that he has so few mistakes. Anyways, just my thoughts. We'll pick up the rest of this chapter in the next video. And as I do these rants just because this is not a book talk channel. This is understanding the Lord better, and my mind runs, and I'd love it if you responded and you had thoughts and comments and links or whatever. I read it all and I love it all. So anyways, we'll catch this in the next video. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.